Hello, everyone. This is Richard Norman, and it's Sunday morning, and you can see I'm dressed to go to church. When the doors are open, I'm there. Uh, this morning, I thought I would tell you that a little bit about some more things. For instance, I was born September 15th, 1929. And in October, the very next month, the stock market crashed. But I want to tell you, I had nothing to do with that. It wasn't my fault. But that began the Great Depression. And if you read about the Great Depression, you will find that people who were in the insurance business did pretty well during those years. And my grandfather had one of the biggest insurance agencies in Austin, Texas, and he did very well. So when we moved in with my grandparents, uh, I never wanted for anything. Uh, I had a I had no idea growing up that I lived through the Great Depression. We had all we wanted to eat. My grandfather had a big fine car, and we went everywhere we needed to go. And we had all the clothes we needed. And uh, I didn't know that we were in want at all during those Depression years. I grew up in a loving home, and I had a wonderful childhood, and I had a blast in high school. I just loved going to high school. I wasn't a very good student except in art and music and drama and speech. I took speech in school as well in my high school. Uh, it was the only high school in Austin, Texas in those days, and it was the largest school in Texas with over 3,000 students. That's not so big today. And that school moved from that location many years ago into a different complex. And the last I saw of that complex, it was used by a junior college. Uh, I I think I ought to tell you about my wife. When I was 19 years old, after church one Sunday morning, I happened to see a young girl that I'd never seen before. I knew she was a visitor, but I just had a good look at her for just a few minutes, and someone dropped by with a car and picked her up and took her away. But when I saw her, I said, wow, that is the most beautiful girl I have ever seen in my life. I'm in love. But I never expected to see her again. But she came to church that night with, with a date, a boy from the church that I knew. And so I slipped in and sat by him and looked across and asked to meet who this young lady was. And we were introduced, and she told me she was visiting in the summertime, going to summer school here in Austin because where she lived, 30 miles north in a small town, they didn't have summer school up there, and she was living with an uncle. It so happened I knew that uncle. And so I asked the two of them if they would come over after church and we'd have soft drinks and cookies and maybe some popcorn and play records. That was a big thing back then. And so they agreed to come. And her name was Jo, J O. Joanne, actually, but she said her name was Joe. And so that night, she and I had a lot of discussion, pretty well ignoring her date. Anyway, after that, well, he took her home, and the very next night, I borrowed my dad's car and went over to see her and to see if she would go out for a little joyride with me. And when I went in, she was doing her homework. She had on a dress and sandals, and it was in late August, and her hair was all up in curlers, big round ones, and neither one of us thought of that. I thought she was the most beautiful girl I'd ever seen, even in curlers. And when I asked her to go out, and she asked her uncle, and he allowed her to, she was just 17 years old. And so then she realized her hair was in curlers and went in and combed her hair out. And we went up to the local city park about 2 blocks away. It was full of people, and the swimming pool was open and full of people, and the tennis courts, people were playing, and there was a ball game on the diamond, and the kids were in the swings, and I mean it was a crowded place, and we just sat down on a bench there and began to talk, and we learned everything we could about each other, and we talked probably for, I guess, close to 2 hours, and I took her home. And at the door, I thought I'd give her a little kiss, and she told me she didn't kiss on the first date. And so, to make a long story short, over 10 days, we had 6 dates. On the third date, I asked her to marry me, and she said yes. On the 6th date, I gave her a half a carat engagement ring, and that was very expensive because I was working in my father's bank for $90 a month, and so it cost me a great deal to get that ring, and I put it on payouts. Anyway, on the 4th date, I drew her portrait. I had a pad and a charcoal pencil, and I drew her portrait. And then I took it home. Then the next day, I colored it with pastels. And then I showed it to her, and I told her I didn't think it was very good. I was going to throw it away, and I'd do another one, and I could do better than that. She would have none of that. She had to have that painting, that pastel painting. And it has hung over our bed all of our married life, and it still hangs over my bed today. And one day I'll try to show it to you. And anyway, we were married September the 22nd in 1949. We had known each other 54 days. But that poor girl, and we were engaged, and when we were engaged, I was 19 and she was 17, and nobody thought it would last. They thought we were way too young, and that it wouldn't last. But that poor girl was married 61 years to the luckiest man in the world. And she passed away in 2010. And she was a wonderful, wonderful wife and mother. We had 6 children, and all of them are girls except 5. And I'm sorry to tell you, my oldest son passed away in 2019, and I think he was just a month away from his 69th birthday. So now I have 4 sons and a daughter. I have 3 sons that live near me, and I see them pretty often. The first year that we were married, I couldn't believe that she would marry me. She was way, way out of my league. You can see that pretty picture just over my shoulder there on the wall. That was her engagement picture. She was 17 years old. And when we married in September the 22nd of 1949, I had been 27 days. And the first year that we were married, I wrote a song to her, a love song, and it is called Never in This World. Never in this world never in this world has there been such a night. Never has the stars and the moon shone so bright. Never in this world has a love been so bright. I'm sorry, I keep messing up on the words. I know the words, I wrote them. And I wrote the music, and I was able to put in all the chord changes and all the markings on the music as well, and I still have a copy of it. I probably ought to look at it. Never in this world has there been such a night. Never have the stars and the moon shone so bright. Never in this world has a love been so right. Never in this world. Music filled the air when you first said hello. All the world was dark till I found you, I know. Never in this world have I felt such a glow. Never in this world. I never hoped to meet you. I never dreamed you'd say anything to thrill me and make me feel this way. Never in this world did I think you would be mine alone to love throughout all eternity. Never in this world did I dream that you'd love me. Never in this world. And never in this world did I dream that she would be my wife. I have always felt like she was so special and I loved her dearly. Until next time, this is Richard Norman. Goodbye.